Good afternoon. How are you? Well, I thought I'd find some spare time today because it's my birthday and to do a couple of things I might not ordinarily do. And I thought I'd go to Harper's Ferry, but I couldn't get there. There was some emergency. So I'm at a brewery in Northern Virginia, and I'm not gonna have any wine this time of the day, but I probably will have a juice and one of their cheeses. The news today is often, as you've found, a repetition of things said already and probably concluded. But we have this maw that we have to fill, that we have to say something about something. And in this regard, I thought one of the things that's interesting is American University had a forum about should we or shouldn't we ban speakers, which is an interesting question. And to put it at the extreme, it is, should we invite guests to speak to abuse us? And I don't know what the answer to that is, but it's not something I would choose to do. So I guess I'd absent myself if a speaker came that I didn't want to hear. And if somebody was going to compel me to attend so that this person could abuse me and my views, I would either have to protest at the event or protest the entire event, depending on what they were talking about. And suppose the speaker got up and incited the people to riot. Is that something that I would find inimical to free speech? I think so. What if somebody got up and repeatedly slandered someone without somebody there to correct it? That also strikes me as offensive. If clapping is okay, is shouting at the speaker okay? Can we drown someone out and chase them from the rostrum? Now, in the light of the recent appearance by Trump, we're at a position in that case to say we have so much information about that speaker that some of us, myself included, would think that I would hold accountable the forum that would have him in that forum. And I think the fact that he's declared himself for president doesn't mean that he earns, well, respect is a strong word, our attention even. And because of who he is and what he's done to challenge our entire system of government, we should ask ourselves, what previous dictator would we think it was okay, who is still active politically, that we would entertain in a public forum? So maybe I have too much of the 60s in me, but my thinking is that I would not want to have a speaker that was so antagonistic to my views or common sense or to law or to our Constitution or to our country. I would not want to give them a place to speak. Now, is that censorship? Well, is the other side of free speech my decision to castigate and to deny a forum to a person who has proven himself unworthy of the forum because he lies and slanders and says things that are inciting to riot and challenging our government? Now, there's a lot of things that we can say about challenging our government when it's based on facts and it's based in our system on a conformance with our Constitution and laws. But when it deviates from those things, I'm not so sure we should have them. It's ironic that this month, I believe, is Jewish Heritage Month. And it takes us back to Trump commenting upon what was going on in Charlottesville and how there were those very plainly demonstrating an anti-Semitic. What do we think about those people? Is that inciting to violence? It's certainly discriminatory. It did lead to death. So that was out in the streets. What if that was inside a room? Would we want that to happen? I don't think so. Our nation is really big on, well, the economy. And it seems to drive the answers, whether it be environmental, whether it be development, whether it be industries that have toxic side effects that we have to deal with. And I guess we could celebrate the fact that people without jobs is a declined percentage. However, when you study the poverty, you see that a lot of the people who get jobs in our economy lose them, and that the permanent jobs, which are not so permanent and don't have the benefits that they once had, evaporate, and permanent jobs become temp jobs. And people are doing temp jobs now that years ago were not temporary. They're in hospitals and places like that. These were not temp jobs. These were even career jobs. And so we shouldn't have that kind of a thing, in my opinion. So that's kind of what I would call my regularly scheduled program. Not that it's really regularly scheduled. It's things that catch my attention that I want to talk about. Let me return to my first point. I, since a young age, have always enjoyed getting into an issue, understanding it, and talking about it, and trying to have some effect in terms of action on what is going on. And I learned early, I'd go to a meeting, and people would be saying things, usually the hosts of the meeting, and there wasn't any participation by the public attending these meetings. And I went to inform myself, not to cause a discussion myself. But people say things and they trigger in you a reaction. And I thought, well, if everybody else in the room is okay with this, there isn't a reason for me to get up and speak. That was my earliest approach to these meetings. And then finally one time I was at a meeting and something was said that I disagreed with. It wasn't so fundamental. It wasn't racism. I don't know exactly what it was. And I thought, well, I should be able to get up and say something that was constructive without being, problematic myself. And what I found was, when I did that, it was like I gave license to everybody else in the room to speak. And they got up and they spoke, not necessarily in agreement with me. And so I realized that when you speak and participate, you are encouraging others to speak, and if they disagree with you, it can be a constructive element of that discussion, because the person is saying something that contributes to the understanding of the issue at hand. I'm not religious, as I've said before, but reportedly, in the good book, Jesus said, if you're tepid, I shall spit you forth from my mouth. Which is another way of saying don't be silent. But, don't be outrageous either. Today is my birthday, as I've mentioned, and I find it hard to believe that so many years have passed. And I may have said this before, that as we get older, people say, oh, you're entering your golden years. And I had a long conversation with a friend today about this. And in our imagination, the first time you hear that, you think the golden years. Ah, yes, tree-lined byways, frolicking animals, blue skies, wonderful weather, good temperatures, the giggle of children nearby, and maybe whatever sporting event you think you'd like to do. But that's certainly not what the golden years are about. I think after asking internists and others what they thought it meant, as I come to this conclusion. The golden years are the years you got that somebody else did not. You're given extra years. And so somebody who passes at 40, maybe they have the greatest 40 years anyone could have. But if you're at 50 or 60, then you say, wow, I got these extra years. Of course, the concern about cutting this coil is always inside of us. There's a little ticker inside of us that's reminding us of this. But the golden years are those years that each of us gets that somebody else didn't get. The death of a child. And our responsibility is how we honor those years, what we spend our time doing. And I think life is kind of like an opera. You play your part. And those who sit in the stands and celebrate our failures on life's field of combat, they're not living, they're existing. And I've been lucky over the years to have known good and bad times, and bad times are part of it. Although there's a recent commercial that drives me crazy. It says you only learn when you lose. I've learned a few things by winning, and I don't subscribe to that view at all. And there's a thing about riding horses. You look at the ground, that's where you're going to end up. You have to look forward on a horse. They talk about coming to a jump. You throw your heart over the jump and the horse will follow. These elements of attitude make a difference. They don't mean you're Pollyannish, but they do mean that you pay attention to how you feel, because it matters how you live. I understand pessimism, but it's not a school of thought that I think favors as much of an enjoyable life, as many golden years as you can have. The notion of a birthday, I guess, is to celebrate this sequence in this artificial time-space continuum that we get to celebrate the earth. Well, here I am walking through this marvelous, marvelous farm. And all around, there's the life of nature here. And this is a beautiful farm, and it's productive, and it presents people, including myself today, with an opportunity to walk among these beautiful fields and to have that kind of special association. Now, I had hoped I'd have it over by Harper's Ferry. That would be my present to myself on my birthday. But this has turned out as quixotic, a surprise, serendipitous, and quite pleasurable, because it's just a little chillier today. So the sunlight is comforting. It's not hot. So my gift to you on my birthday is that you should find that part of you that is genuine, authentic. Embrace it, enjoy it, and enjoy the golden years that you have. And that's my short run today of what I see in the news worth commenting on, and the fact that my mom had to bear me out 8 pounds 10 ounces so many years ago. All the best. Bye-bye.